And a good Wednesday morning, Quad Cities. It is 9 o'clock on the dot, and it is Wednesday, December 17th. Thank you for joining me. I'm meteorologist Andrew Stutzke, and this is Ask Andrew Live. We have got a lot to talk about today, including a weather impact alert for tomorrow and a nice warming trend that is going to take over as we head into the week of Christmas. If you are new, welcome. We're happy to have you along. If you're returning, welcome back. Always good to see you here on another week of Ask Andrew Live. If you have a weather-related question, you can submit those to the number that we'll put at the bottom of your screen, and that is 309-304-0888. Go ahead and text it to that. We're also simulcasting, by the way, on our Facebook page with a Facebook Live chat that is ongoing too. And if you're on our Facebook watching, you can also put your question right there in the comment section, and I will get to it here coming up in just a few moments. But we do have a lot to talk about, including our winter storm coming in for tomorrow. Now, this winter storm is going to be much different than any other winter storm that we have seen so far this early season, and that is it's not going to be bringing us any snow, really, but it's actually going to be bringing us some rain and also some very strong winds. So we do have a weather impact alert in place all day tomorrow for that. In fact, I'm kind of toying with the idea of extending that impact alert into Friday morning because I'm starting to notice that the wind chills in the early morning hours of Friday are dipping back into the double digits below zero again. That is certainly impactful to your health if you're outside for an extended period of time. So we're going to wrap up all the details, everything that we know about that storm system. I'll put it in a nice bow for you, and we'll break down everything that we're expecting. So let's start with our weather impact alert and what we're expecting to go down here as we go into the day tomorrow. And this really all begins right around that morning commute, right before daybreak, about 5 a.m. is when things are expected to get cooking around here. Not only with just the winds, but that's when we're expecting to also start to see some of those heavier snow showers. That could certainly be impactful to the commute with some heavy downpours. That's something we'll have to be tracking, especially as we go throughout the morning. Then the strong winds will come in. And to add more to the impact list for tomorrow, we have the opportunity to see some heavy snow showers during the evening commute, in addition to even stronger winds. Those heavy snow showers could reduce your visibility. Now, in terms of making the roads slick, I don't believe that's going to be a problem. Our temperatures tomorrow morning, in fact, for most of the morning, are going to be quite warm, and I don't see that being an issue in terms of those pavement temperatures. So that is something we will continue to watch, especially heading into tomorrow. But there's the alert. Again, it's all day. This is a very dynamic system. Take a look at all of the wind alerts. What you see there in that dark gold color is a high wind warning. What you see more in the tan or that taupe color is a wind advisory. And right now, that wind advisory does not include the Quad Cities or any of our hometowns yet, but I do expect that to change as we go into tomorrow, especially in the morning. Likely going to see that wind advisory kick off. But when would we see it issued? Most likely this afternoon. The National Weather Service will put out their afternoon forecast package between 1 and 2:30. That's when you'll likely see that alert come across your phone for a wind advisory. Now, what about the timing of everything else? Let's go right to our future track model. We're going to start with the chance of the rain moving in, and there you see it. This will start as rain showers just after 4:30, 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. Fairly widespread good coverage on these showers. And a reminder, temperatures remain above freezing tonight. So not expecting any ice on the roads tomorrow morning. This will be all liquid. And also don't forget, we're going into the 40s today. The pavement is not going to have a chance to drop below freezing in the next 24 hours, which is good news. We don't want to worry about that. So there's our rain showers. Now that will transition to a steadier, moderate rain once we get to 8, 9, 10 o'clock. Could even be a few embedded thunderstorms. That's what Future Track is indicating here with these little heavier pockets of rain near Burlington and south of Interstate 80. And then you see what also happens behind this system, where we've got this right here, some what we call dynamic cooling. The cold air rushing behind the system may briefly change that band of rain over to snow right around lunchtime. Now, if that were to happen, that will briefly reduce visibility for about 30 to 45 minutes. And would this be enough to put a dusting of snow on the ground? Certainly. I don't think it's going to affect roads, though, because you have all this rain ahead of it. The road is already wet, which makes less of a sticking surface for these snowflakes to fall on, not to mention the pavement's going to be above freezing. Let me back this up one more time because I want you to see these temperatures. Look at the temperatures here as the rain is falling. We're well into the 40s. So this is another reason why I'm saying even if it snows tomorrow during lunchtime, that's not going to stick to the pavement. We will have some hometowns close to 50 tomorrow morning. But now I want you to focus on the temperatures as this band of rain and snow moves out. It is a rapid decline into the afternoon as we go from those 40s and 50s to 20s and teens. We will be in the teens by the evening commute. That could, on untreated road surfaces, especially bridges and overpasses, cause what we call a flash freeze situation, where any water left on the pavement quickly freezes and turns to ice. Now, a lot of our roads still have a ton of salt on them. However, with this rain coming in, it's going to kind of wash that away. So I imagine crews may be out treating some of the roads tomorrow evening, especially those bridges and overpasses. So that's another thing we're tracking. But I also wanted to show you this here too. You see these little snow showers coming in from the northwest? This is 5:30 tomorrow. Those snow showers may be heavy enough at times as they're scooting through on a scattered basis to reduce your visibility through the evening commute. Will there be any accumulation with that? Likely not going to see any accumulation with them. However, the visibility, that could certainly be impacted for the evening commute tomorrow. So we've told you about the timing of the rain-snow mix, and also the timing of those snow showers. Now let's talk about the timing of the wind, the strongest winds. So when we wake up tomorrow morning, yes, you will hear the wind, those gusts approaching 35 to 40. We do, however, catch a small break right around lunchtime. That's when the cold front will be sitting right on top of us. And you can see that front really easily on the map here. There's the front slicing right through the Quad Cities. And of course, it's moving due east. So once that front passes, the wind will ramp up significantly into the afternoon. That's when gusts will go beyond 40 miles an hour and may start approaching 45. And in some cases, you're seeing some of these numbers here, may start approaching 50 miles per hour on those gusts tomorrow evening through tomorrow night. That will be an impact not only to your outdoor holiday decorations, but also if you're commuting, because you're going to be blown all over the place, especially if you've got a very large vehicle that you're having to drive. Those gusty winds continue through the first part of Friday, but only about 30 or so miles per hour. However, that's going to bring back those nasty wind chills, which we'll start tracking here in just a moment. So let's lay out everything we just discussed on a nice clean timeline that breaks it all down hour by hour for tomorrow. You're starting with the green bars, scattered showers to begin, and then it will ramp up to a widespread heavier rainfall as the morning progresses. That will end right after lunchtime, but not before, mixing with some snowflakes, some wet snowflakes. Then we'll catch a little bit of a break, maybe an hour or two with those lighter winds. Then once we hit about 3 o'clock, here comes the stronger wind gusts. And just in time for the evening commute, you've got those scattered snow showers that are going to be moving in that will reduce the visibility. And again, I'm not expecting a lot of accumulation out of that, given the warm pavement temperatures and the fact that it's already wet. That will make it a little more difficult, but it's mainly a visibility impact that I see heading into those snow showers for tomorrow evening. Let's talk wind chills, shall we? This is the feels like or the wind chill temperature by 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. You can see how that is really decreasing with time. We'll advance this a little bit further. Here's 8 o'clock tomorrow night. We're already starting to see some negative wind chills move in from the northwest. Those will quickly overtake the entire region before midnight, late Thursday night into Friday morning. This is what you'll be waking up to, by the way, for wind chills on Friday. Thankfully, this is only going to be negative, at least double-digit negatives for a couple of hours. So I think given this current scenario where we've got these double-digit negative wind chills coming back in, we're going to extend our weather impact alert for a few more hours to include a little chunk of Friday morning for some of these lower wind chill values. There is a quick improvement, though, as we go into Friday afternoon. We will regain those positive wind chill values, but nonetheless, Friday is certainly going to be a very chilly and cold feeling day because of all this Arctic air that's going to be spilling its way back into our region. I'll pull up the 8-day tracker so you can see what the rest of the week has in store. Again, I think we're going to go ahead and extend our red box into the first half of Friday for those really cold wind chills. We do get back up above freezing again on Saturday, only to fall back to freezing on Sunday. One more little round of Arctic air. Now that front that will move through Saturday night, it doesn't really have any moisture attached to it. So other than some clouds coming in, I don't expect anything other than a wind shift in the colder day on Sunday. But look what happens next week. We have all this warmth on the way. We will literally, outside of Sunday, spend every day next week in the 40s. And there you see Christmas Eve on Wednesday, 47 degrees. And if we put the 14-day up, which I'll do for you, as an added bonus, you'll be able to see what happens Christmas Day. Trending into the mid-50s right now. There are a few models that want to take us into the 60s. I'm going to go a little conservative on that for right now. We'll see what the final track of that weather pattern is, but it certainly looks warm for Christmas. It's sad for Santa. Santa's going to need the wheels on the sleigh this year. There will not be any snow left over based on these temperatures that we're forecasting in the next week. But it will be great news if you're traveling, especially in the Quad Cities or anywhere in our region, because that means there will not be any impactful weather, most likely, that you will have to deal with, whether it's in the air or on the ground. I think we're going to be in good shape for the Christmas travel this year. So that is the 411, if you will, on what's happening with the storm system for tomorrow. A potent winter storm, but it's different than any of the other ones we've seen in that we're not getting snow. So, and most of you are okay with that. And I talk to a lot of you when I see you in public, how you liking the snow? What are your feelings of having snow on Christmas? And I would say more than half of you at this point are saying, you know what? I've had enough snow. Doesn't matter to me if it's a snow-filled Christmas or not. We've had enough. So that's what the consensus seems to be for most people. You've likely had your fill of snow. I'll go over the couple of excellent questions we had this week for Ask Andrew during GMQC, and then it's all about you guys. It is your opportunity to ask your weather-related question, and we'll get right to those here in just a second. We had an awesome question this morning. This is a mind-blowing question. So here it is. It was from Mary in Walnut in good old Bureau County, asking, which scenario melts more snow? Is it a sunny day or is it warmer temperatures? So we're breaking this down by those separate elements. Let's start with the sunshine first. And I'm going to take you all the way back to COVID years when we did Storm Track 8 University. Morgan Strackbine and I did online, where we talked about that word albedo. And albedo essentially measures how effective an object can either absorb heat or reflect heat. Well, snow, because of its white color, has a very high albedo. The higher the albedo, the more energy from the sun gets reflected off that surface. This is about as high as it gets for albedo objects here when it comes to weather-related elements. Now, a mirror, that's a different story, but this is about as high as it gets. If you have sun, yes, it helps a little, but the problem is all that energy from the sun, it hits the snowpack and it bounces right back up. It really doesn't get absorbed into the snowpack to help melt it. So that's one element. Two, and this is a big player right now, is the temperature of the ground beneath the snowpack. Remember, we did not get an opportunity to freeze the ground. The ground is still above freezing because when all that cold air came in, we had snow on the ground, which acted as a blanket to keep the heat in. So the ground is warmer. Yes, that will help speed up the snow melt, but the number one factor in melting snow is the humidity level, believe it or not. The more humidity you have in the air and temperatures are above freezing, the more quickly that snow is going to melt. And you're saying, well, why is that? Why does that matter? So let me give you this scenario, why this is the case here. What I'm going to show you on this graph is our daily humidity cycle. Where do we see the highest humidity? It's late at night, early in the morning. So here's the morning. You see the humidity is really high. We get to the late morning, especially into the afternoon, the humidity typically reaches its lowest point of the day before we get to the evening and night and the humidity spikes back up. That's important because based on this alone, that shows you that when temperatures are above freezing, we melt more snow overnight as opposed to melting more snow during the day. Isn't that something? And it all breaks down to chemistry. Because what happens is when you have high humidity, you have a lot of these water droplets sitting in the air. They actually attach themselves to the top of that snowpack, and there is a transfer of heat energy that occurs in that process, and that transfer of heat energy creates heat, which helps to melt the snow. So, believe it or not, you actually get more snow melt in a perfect ideal situation overnight than you would during the day with sunshine. That's exactly what we saw last night and this morning. When I took Cooper out at about 3 o'clock, the water running down everyone's downspouts in my neighborhood was quite loud. You could hear it. And we had temperatures that were right about 35 to 38 degrees. Not extremely warm, but warm enough when you combined it with that high humidity that we had typically overnight. You had a lot of melting of the snowpack that happened this morning. And we're going to repeat this scenario several more times heading in throughout all of next week. So it is likely the snow will be completely gone before Christmas outside of those big piles in your parking lot. That's why. The other topic we talked about was wind chill. Why do we measure it? Why should we even care what the wind chill is? What's the big deal? I just want to know what the actual temperature is. Well, the wind chill, we measure that because it is the experience that your body gets when you remove this dome of heat that would usually protect you. So on a still day, we've got my little mini-me here, big Iowa State fan, by the way. There you see, sorry, Alec, there you see some of the temperatures here. So 32 degrees is in this scenario, but the winds are really light. That means the wind chill is 28, so not too bad. It's pretty close to the actual temperature itself. Let's talk about now removing this dome of heat that naturally exists around us by increasing the wind speeds. You increase the wind, that dome of hot air that surrounds you typically just gets moved away. It's totally away from you. You're fully exposed to the cold air and the cold wind that is flowing through you, impacting your body temperature. That's why there's a wind chill here of 20, same temperature, still 32. The only thing is we increased the wind speed to rip that dome of warm air away from you, and that lowered our wind chill to 20 degrees. Now, humans, we are the only ones that experience wind chill. Animals experience it too, to an extent, but for the most part, it's just humans that experience wind chill. Your car doesn't experience it. Your house doesn't experience it because remember, we're not changing the temperature. Still 32 degrees. So if I go in my car and it's 32 degrees outside and I'm going 70 miles an hour on Interstate 80, that doesn't mean I'm going to have a wind chill of like 10 or 8 degrees with my car. Now, if I stuck my hand out the window, absolutely I would have a wind chill factor because you're talking about your hand, your living skin, you're feeling that wind chill sticking your arm outside of the window and you're losing that heat. But it does not impact your vehicle. It's not going to lower the temperature of the air that your vehicle is experiencing because, again, your vehicle is not a living object, though some of us may think so. Myself included. Sometimes it's got a mind of its own. I think everybody knows what I'm talking about there. So, great questions. Excellent questions this week, all winter related, and absolutely love it. You guys did a fantastic job. A couple more little nuggets, and then we'll get to your questions here. One nugget in case you missed it. I posted this over the weekend on social media. We are logging the second snowiest pre-winter on record in the Quad Cities. What do I mean by that? Well, astronomical winter does not begin until we get into the upcoming weekend and next week. So we're talking about the period before then and also starting November 1st. Look at how close we were to setting a record here. We were only 1/10 of an inch away from the official observation station in Moline. I guarantee you someone else has broken this record in the Quad Cities. But where we measure our snow at the Quad Cities International Airport down the road here, that's where the official records are kept, so we have to go by that. But yeah, we were 1/10 of an inch away from blasting through a record of having the snowiest pre-winter on record in the Quad Cities. Here's the average amount of snow we see from November 1st to December 14th. It's literally only 5.5 inches. So we have gone more than a foot above that average in terms of how much snow we've seen. So no, you're not playing mind games or anything with yourself thinking, my gosh, this has been a harsh start to winter. It absolutely has been a very harsh start to winter. Hopefully Mother Nature is going to let up a little bit. It hasn't just been the snow, by the way. Take a look at the temperature departure for the month of September to date, 12.7 degrees colder than normal this month so far. And I know it's a little bit more than half over, but that is an impressive number to have. Double digits colder than usual. No shocker there whatsoever. It's also the most significant cold we've seen all year. A lot of these other numbers are much, much smaller when it comes to their magnitude or their the height at which they're colder or which they're warmer. So that's really impressive. We saved it till the end of the year, I guess, even more impressive than what we did in January and February. It has been a wild year so far, no doubt about it. That, I think, is all I have to show you guys this morning. So I'll go right to your questions. We'll see what's cooking here and what you've got on your mind this morning. I hope everyone is geared up and ready for the big day next week. You've got all your shopping done. Got a couple more things to tidy up, but for the most part, all my stuff is done. But yeah, kind of disappointed that we're not going to have the snow on the ground for Christmas, but at least it means it's good news for travelers. There's always a positive to those kind of things. All right, we have someone asking if everything is going to freeze up. There is the possibility that we do see some of this rain. Once it ends, that water, that standing water, freeze up. In fact, it's going to be likely for any standing water as we go into tomorrow night and Friday morning. So that will likely happen. What we will likely not see is this big flash freeze on the roads because, again, it will remain liquid. There's going to be some dry time between both of these events. There will also be a lot of wind, which will help kind of dry that pavement out a little bit. The only exception I would say would be your bridges and overpasses. I think those are a little bit more vulnerable in this type of a situation, but everything else really should not be icy in terms of the roads as we go into tomorrow night and Friday morning. But any standing water will absolutely turn to ice as early as we head into Thursday evening. Good morning, Billy from Clinton. So happy you could join us again for another episode this week. He's got two questions for me. One, are you concerned about ice jams on the Mississippi River with the warm-up? And two, are you concerned about a flash freeze with tomorrow's system? Thank you for your time, and he hopes everyone has a wonderful day. And as always, we hope you have a wonderful day as well. So to address question number one, no ice jams for the Mississippi River. The Mississippi River is actually the least vulnerable river in our region when it comes to ice jams. Why is that? Because the river is so wide. It is so wide that you're really not going to get an ice jam incident on that body of water. The river you really have to watch is the Rock River, the Wapsie. Don't forget about the Iowa River. I believe you have the Cedar River, a couple others mixed in there. Those are the ones you have to watch for ice jams. The most vulnerable, hands down, is the Rock River. If you've ever looked at the Rock River on a map in Whiteside County, especially in and around Linden and Prophetstown, the Rock River literally does a curly Q. It is so curled up and moving all over the place in short distances. That's where the ice jams always happen year after year. So Rock River will have the highest threat of ice jams. Thankfully, the ice is not extremely thick right now. It's still pretty thin. But nonetheless, it's something we're going to have to watch as we go into next week especially. In terms of a flash freeze, that will be likely for puddles of water that are left standing Thursday night into Friday. The rest of the roads, though, with all this wind coming in and the fact that the rain ends at noon, roughly, and we're going to see about 4 to 5 hours of nothing in terms of new rain before the temperatures drop below freezing, I think that really keeps us from a flash freeze on roadways going into tomorrow. So that's also a good scenario too. Tim from Moline saying good morning, everyone. So it's been such a wild start to winter, seeing over 18 inches already of snow, and the temperatures are changing yet again to melt the snow before Christmas. Has the jet stream shifted back to the north to help bring these spring-like temperatures back to the Quad Cities? The answer is yes. The jet stream is shifting well to the north. Actually, it'll be along the U.S.-Canada border for much of next week, the week of Christmas. So that does two things. Obviously, it makes our temperatures warmer, but it also allows us to get away from that active storm track, because it seems like the last few weeks we've had storm after storm after storm after storm. Now we're finally going to catch a break. And here's what the jet stream pattern looks like as you go into Christmas and the time after Christmas. Notice that jet is a little bit further to the north. Now, it does appear after Christmas and heading into the New Year's, that's when we will start to see that jet go right back to the south again, and we'll start to pick up that active winter pattern likely bringing some renewed opportunities for snow. Again, that's after Christmas and as we get closer to the New Year Day time frame. Winter is eventually going to return. Just because we're getting warm next week does not mean we wave the white flag or we throw in the towel and say winter is over. Winter is far from over, my friends. We still have a lot to get through. Marcus from Moline, I know who this is. Will we see a white Christmas this year? Your answer will decide if you're getting coal in your stocking or not. You know what? I wondered if that was already in there because I took a little sneak. I kind of was seeing the weight of the stocking that we have at my house. I was like, this is kind of heavy. I think he's already put the coal in my stocking regardless. But we are not going to see the white Christmas this year. I think the percent went from 10 earlier this week or late last week when I told you about that, and now I'm going with a big fat 0 on that white Christmas. Unless you do what Devin suggested, which was taking a jar or a bucket of snow and putting it in your freezer and then dumping it in your front yard and mashing it all up on Christmas morning. That's about the only way at this point you're going to see snow in your front lawn come Christmas Day. Just not happening this year. Riley is with us this morning. Good morning, Riley. What is a meteorologist's favorite song? Here comes the sun, do-do-do-do. That's a very good one. I love that song. Question, what's frontogenesis and why does it make forecasters nervous? Frontogenesis, big word, but it's a fancy word for the formation of a front. So frontogenesis occurs when you have two different types of air masses. And let me rewind this graphic because I might be able to show you this. So what I'm going to show you here, let me find a good contrast. I'm actually going to zoom this out. Let me play this all the way through, and let me see if I can find a good point that we can just see what's happening. There we go. Okay, so a good example of frontogenesis here on the map. You're going to look for an area of really cold air that's close to an area of really warm air. And where we're seeing that is right down here in the south. So this is December 27th, after Christmas. It is likely there is going to be a cold front that forms right here. And that cold front, frontogenesis, occurs because of that change in air mass over a very short distance. In this case, we're talking about a change in temperature. So essentially what will happen is you will get frontogenesis after Christmas that will develop likely a cold front here and likely a warm front here that will separate those two air masses. What a question. I am so impressed, Riley. Thanks for bringing that excellent question this morning. That was awesome. Michelle is wondering, has Morgan lost the snow amount you guys picked? No, I don't think she has because she quantified that the snow before December 1st wasn't going to count because I believe she said it was for meteorological winter, which runs December 1st through the end of, I believe it's March, January, February, March, yes. No, December, January, February. It goes to the end of February. Morning brain. Yeah, meteorological winter goes from December 1st through the end of February. So the one after Thanksgiving that we got wouldn't count, so Morgan is still in the race as far as I know. So she did quantify that and qualify that. Rick is asking, when does it look like the next dump of polar air after the first of the year will happen? It will literally be right around the first of the year. You can look here. This is the 27th, so we're talking about the weekend after Christmas. You can see the cold air is still loading up here, and there's another huge little comma head here off of Alaska. This eventually works its way here to the southeast. So with time, I think especially around New Year's Day and shortly after New Year's Day, we will see those Arctic blasts come back in. We'll be back in the active storm track with what we call those clipper systems, most likely working through again. So if you're thinking winter is over and we're done with snow, that's not the case. The cold absolutely will return. It's just going to take a little bit of a hiatus until likely after the new year. We have Tyler with all the talks about the wind. When will the strongest winds be expecting? Are we expecting a wind advisory or a watch for the winds? And will there be any flash freezes on sidewalks? Flash freezes on sidewalks that have a sizable amount of puddle action on them, absolutely. Not so much on the roads. Strongest winds. Now they will be strong tomorrow morning, but the strongest period of winds is expected to be in the evening. And I will take you there right now. Let's go right there at 7 o'clock. There's a lot of 45 plus numbers here moving into eastern Iowa. And then all of us nearly will start experiencing those as we approach 8, 9 o'clock tomorrow night. So that is the time period when we're going to be seeing those strongest winds. It'll be tomorrow evening and tomorrow night. Chris and Kayla from Walnut saying welcome back. Missed you guys as well. Why did the weatherman blush? He saw climate change. That's cute. Question. With this warming of the air from freezing temperatures, will we see rings around the moon and sundogs? We will not. However, you will want to look for those when we get really, really, really cold again. I'm talking about temperatures near zero. That's when you want to look for those sundogs and the rings around the moon. You need those frozen ice crystals in the air with really, really cold temperatures in order to be able to see those. Great question. No one in, is it Amelia? I think is how you say that. Also from Walnut, how was a rainbow made? So rainbows are really cool. And of course, I'm a really big fan of rainbows, especially double rainbows. So rainbows, you need water in the air. More specifically, you need at least a mist or a light rain. Even a heavy rain will do it. But you need a lot of water droplets. And you also need the sun. The sun, all of that light goes through those water droplets. It gets reflected like a whole bunch of little mirrors. And then because our eyes can see what we call the visible light spectrum, do you remember Roy G. Biv? You might be too young to have the Roy G. Biv yet, but no worries. When you get into high school and college and physics and chemistry, you'll know exactly what Roy G. Biv is. But basically, our eyes are capable of seeing all of those colors if they're reflected just right in the atmosphere via water particles. That's why we see rainbows, and they are awesome. Tyler says, with all your estimated snowfall this winter from first to last, who is currently in what place? You know what? I'm going to have to go back and rewatch our winter special. I've got so much crammed into my brain right now between tracking all of these winter storms. I honestly don't even remember what everyone's guess was. So you know what I'll do? Once I get off of here, I got to go to one meeting. I will look that up, and I'll make a fun little social media post, and I'll put it on my Facebook and see who is in first place, who's in last place, and who's already been disqualified. How about that? Because I don't want to shortchange anybody by not getting their number correctly, because there were a lot of different numbers that we threw out during the winter weather special, which, by the way, if you haven't seen it yet, you can still stream it right here on the A+ app for free. Totally. All right, I've got to get myself to a meeting. As always, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you guys here. Next week, I'm pretty sure we're in session. If we're not, I'll let you know. I know that I will be here. I know it's Christmas Eve. It's just Christmas Day that we don't have GMQC. So I am planning on being here Wednesday. If we have enough appropriate staffing, I'm sure we will have another brand new episode of Ask Andrew Live, Christmas Eve edition. If not, if I don't get to see you then, or if you're not able to tune in next week, I hope you and your family have a very Merry Christmas. And again, this show is all about you guys. It would not be possible without you tuning in and joining me for weather discussions and throwing all these awesome questions my way. You guys are just amazing, and I appreciate you so much. So get out there, enjoy today, enjoy the sunshine, the light winds, the warm temperatures, because tomorrow just gets downright nasty. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday regardless. I'll see you later this morning on GMQC at 11.